Welcome to the Wind Up with Will, everyone. I'm your host, Will, here with another episode. And today we're going to be talking about the college football rankings and the games going on today. I know I'm a little behind, so there's already games going on by the time this video uploads. Most of those will probably be over. It'll be in the middle of the game. But I'm going to go ahead and get a video out today. I'm going to adjust my chair. There we go. Felt like I was sitting a little lower. Um, so I'm going to go through the rankings real quick, as well as what the college football playoff um, would look like at the moment if we're just going off of the AP poll. Not my opinion, not the committee's opinion, just going off of where teams are currently ranked in the AP poll, what the playoff might look like, or what it would look like just based off the AP poll. But we're going to go through. I'm going to mention the rankings and go through the games going on today, and then I'll get to the playoff. So right now the rankings, we got number 1 is Ohio State, number 2 is Indiana, 3 is Texas A&M, 4 is Alabama, 5 is Georgia, 6 is Oregon, 7 is Georgia Tech, 8 is Ole Miss, 9 is Miami, 10 is Vanderbilt, what a season they've had, 11 is BYU, 12 is my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, climbed all the way back up to 12 after 2 tough losses to start the year. Number 13 is Oklahoma, number 14 is Texas Tech, 15 is Mizzou, 11 is Virginia, 17 is Tennessee, 18 is South Florida, 19 is Louisville, 20 is LSU, 21 is Cincinnati, 22 is Texas, 23 is Illinois, 24 is Arizona State, and 25 is the Michigan Wolverines. So I'm going to go through the games that are going on currently today. We're going to start with, I'll just do the ranked games first. So currently we've got some games going on right now that are in the middle of the game. So we've got Indiana playing UCLA. It's at halftime. Indiana was a huge favorite in this game. They're currently winning 35-3. I would have picked Indiana to win this game. Even though UCLA has been resurgent, they've won, I think, 3 games in a row. I believe they won 3 games in a row. Yes, they've won 3 games in a row over Penn State, Michigan State, and Maryland. Their offense has been resurgent. They have looked good, but Indiana is the number 2 team in the nation for a reason. They have been phenomenal this year. They've gone far beyond what anyone outside of what some Indiana Hoosier fans think. They've gone way beyond what anyone else thought. Indiana Hoosier fans probably saw this coming, but I know I didn't. I thought they would continue to be a good team, but not anyway. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs this year, but I thought they'd be like a respectable 9-3. And hey, their football program's pretty good now. But they've gone way beyond that and are one of the best teams in the nation. They're destroying UCLA right now, 35-3 at halftime. Another game going on is Georgia Tech Syracuse. Georgia Tech's the number 7 team in the nation. Syracuse is unranked. Georgia Tech is currently winning that game 20-3. I forget what I think the spread was 7 points. Where is that? Okay. I'm sorry. It was 17.5 Georgia Tech. I'm a little off there. So they're currently covering that. I would have maybe picked a Georgia Tech. I don't know. Syracuse without Steve Angeli quarterback they've not been as good recently. So Georgia Tech, I think I maybe would have picked them to cover that, but I'm not a betting person anyway. Georgia Tech has been a great team this year. I think they're a little underrated even at 7. I think a lot of people overlook them and say, well, they've won some close games and they won a game that they shouldn't have, but they're a good football program. It took Georgia. This is the same team as last year, probably maybe a little better than last year's team. It took the Georgia Bulldogs, 8 overtimes to beat them last year. Georgia better watch out when they play Georgia Tech at the end of the year. This is a really good team, and they're currently beating Syracuse in the third quarter. They look like they're well on their way to perhaps being in the ACC title game, currently undefeated in the ACC and undefeated on the season at 7-0, perhaps soon to be 8-0. We've got a good matchup in the SEC going on right now. That's in the third quarter. We got the number 13 Oklahoma Sooners hosting the number 8 Ole Miss Rebels. And Ole Miss is on the road, is winning 22-13 right now in Norman. That would be a huge win for Ole Miss. if I can scroll, I can tell you who was favored in this. Oklahoma was a 5.5 point favorite. I would have picked Oklahoma going into this game. If I had gotten a video out earlier this week with my predictions, I would have picked Oklahoma. Um, they have a really good defense. They've been good at home, and I think they're a really solid team. Now, what's hurt them is John Mateer is perhaps playing injured or not at 100%. So I think that's where they have a bit of a disadvantage where Ole Miss's quarterback Chambliss has been really good for them. And right now they're pulling off the upset on the road in Oklahoma. But I think this is a game where whoever loses this game is really in a tough spot in the playoff uh, to make the college football playoffs. You would have your second loss in SEC play, and it's making it much harder to make the SEC title game. And I know a bunch of people online have been saying, well, a two-loss SEC team gets in. Not if 6 teams in the SEC all have 2 wins or 7 teams. You could run into a scenario where you have a whole bunch of teams with 2 losses, and not all of them are going to get in because 3 teams are going to come out of the Big Ten, and Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. You're going to get Georgia Tech and perhaps Miami as well out of the ACC. You could even get 2 teams out of the Big 12. What if BYU goes undefeated and loses to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship? Are they going to leave BYU out with their only loss in the conference championship? So you run into situations like that. I don't really know if they can take every 2-loss team. So this Ole Miss Oklahoma game is huge for these teams. Whoever wins this is setting really nice to be in the college football playoffs or have a shot at it. And the loser has an uphill battle, especially Oklahoma. The last part of their schedule is so hard for them, so they really need to win this game. They need as many wins as they can get because the rest of their schedule is really tough with going to Tennessee next week, going to Alabama, hosting Missouri, and hosting LSU to end the year. So they've got a really tough schedule ahead of them. So Oklahoma really needs to get a win today if they can. Some other games. Number 16, Virginia right now is playing North Carolina in a tied game, 10-10 in the third quarter. I would have picked Virginia to win this game pretty handily. They've been playing really well recently. North Carolina's put up some fight in some of their games, but they've just not been able to win. I think this is a team, North Carolina, under Bill Belichick, they need at least 2 or 3 years to build the program up to what it could be. With any football program rebuilding, you've got to give it time. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to have a few years. North Carolina's not there right now, but they've been competitive in games, and they're giving Virginia quite the game here. That a loss here would spell disaster for Virginia because right now they're undefeated in ACC play, and they've got a good chance to perhaps be in the ACC title game. They have a fairly easy schedule compared to a lot of the other teams in the ACC title race. So they really need to get a win here against a weak North Carolina opponent. But I would say Virginia pulls it out in the end. I think they're the better team. We've got South Florida, number 18, visiting Memphis today. They're currently winning 24-14 in the third quarter. I would have picked South Florida to win this game, but I would say Memphis would play them closer than they are. But Memphis is driving right now. I think South Florida was the slight favorite going into this game. If I can find where the odds were. Well, maybe this game isn't going to give me the odds. Oh, there they are. Yeah, USF was a 7.5 point favorite in this game. I think Memphis is good enough to play them closer than 7.5, but I think South Florida wins this game. They've been really good. They've shown that they're probably the best Group of 5 team in the country this year. So I think South Florida will hold that game out. Some other games we got going on. Number 4, Alabama is visiting South Carolina, who's 3-4 on the year. Alabama's a 12.5 point favorite. I think Alabama wins this game. I don't know if I shouldn't say I don't know. I think they will win by more. I think they'll win by 2 scores. I think they'll win by 2 touchdowns. But I look for South Carolina to make this game close. They're a better program than they've played this year. They're 3-4. I don't think they're as good as they were last year, but they're still a sneaky team, and you can't overlook them. And if Alabama overlooks them, South Carolina could make it close. But I think Alabama wins the game. We've got a great game here in a little over an hour. is where College Game Day was at today. Number 15 Missouri visits number 10 Vanderbilt. It's the first time Vanderbilt's been in the top 10 since I think they said 1947. So it has been a long time coming for Vanderbilt football. It has been a crazy year this year with how good Indiana's been, how good Vanderbilt's been, how good Georgia Tech has been. College football is great when you have all these random programs that are not the normal blue bloods that are winning. So it's cool to see that. And props to Vanderbilt for being in this position. They're 6-1 in the year, same as Missouri. Both these teams' only losses have come to Alabama. Whoever wins this game, I think, is in a good spot to perhaps make the playoffs. Vanderbilt still has some difficult opponents ahead. They visit Texas next week. They get Auburn and Kentucky at home, which I think they should win both of those games, and they end the season at Tennessee, which I think that game will be a dogfight. That game will be awesome to end the season. But if Vanderbilt wins, they've got a much better shot at making the playoffs. Mizzou, if they win, have a great shot at making the playoffs as well. But both of these teams, I mean, they do have difficult opponents. Mizzou hosts Texas A&M and goes to Oklahoma at some point. So they've got a decent Mississippi State team that they're going to have to host as well. The SEC is just it is very, I don't know if you call it parity. I guess you could call it parity, where there's a lot of good teams in the SEC. And like I said earlier, you can't take all the 2-loss teams. So getting a ranked win here is huge for both of these teams. Vanderbilt's a 3.5-point favorite. Give me Vanderbilt to win at home. I think having the home field advantage, never being in the top 10 since the 1940s, I think Vanderbilt fans are going to be hyped. This is a huge moment for them, and I think they're going to get a win and perhaps move closer to making the college football playoff. And a loss from Mizzou, I think, is going to move them just outside and give them kind of an uphill climb to get back into the playoff picture with just how many teams are in front of them in the SEC and how many teams outside the SEC are competing for the playoffs as well that are right in that threshold. Teams like Notre Dame and Texas Tech and Miami. It is a stacked playoff list of teams right there outside of the top 10. So a loss here could really hurt Mizzou's chances of making the playoffs. They still have a chance to make it, but a second loss here is going to hurt them if they do lose. And same thing with Vanderbilt. If they lose, it's going to be a tough uphill climb for them as well because of the games they have against Texas and Tennessee. Those are two games that they might not win. So both of these teams need to win, but I'm picking Vanderbilt to win and stay in the top 10. Now we got 11 BYU visiting Iowa State. Iowa State's the 2.5-point favorite. Give me BYU. Give me the Cougars. I think Iowa State does make this close. It probably comes down to a field goal at the end. But I'm picking BYU. I think they're great. They were great last year, and I think they're going to try and finish the mission this year by making it to the Big 12 title game. So they're going to go to 8-0 after today. We got number 23, Illinois, visiting Washington. Washington's a 3.5-point favorite. I think my preseason prediction video, I said Illinois would lose this game. And I honestly don't know. Both of these teams are good teams that have just not been able to finish against teams that are better than them. Washington lost 24-6 to Ohio State, and I think Illinois lost 34-16 to Ohio State. So both these teams have lost to Ohio State. Washington's other loss came to, who did it come to? Michigan. They lost to Michigan last week, 24-7. And Illinois' other loss, they got blown out by Indiana. I think it was 63-10 in that game. As much as I want to pick Illinois because I think they've been a fun team to watch and follow this year, I think Washington gets it done at home. And in preseason, I picked Washington to win this game anyway to be one of Illinois' handful of losses. It's in Washington. Their fans have a great atmosphere. I think Washington wins it. Give me Washington. Texas Tech is number 14. They're hosting a very down Oklahoma State team this year. Their records are opposite of one another. Texas Tech is 6-1, and Oklahoma State is 1-6. They're a 38.5-point favorite. Give me Texas Tech. I don't know if they quite win by 40, but I would not be surprised. Oklahoma State is not good at all, but their fans are extremely passionate. I've seen where photos and videos of their fans are still having fun at games. They're still being passionate, enthusiastic. So props to the Oklahoma State fans for not giving up on their team and still going to the games and having fun. I hope to see them back to being a competitive program in the near future. Texas Tech, though, wins today. We've got number 21, Cincinnati, hosting Baylor. They're a 3.5-point favorite over Baylor. Give me Cincinnati to beat Baylor, but I would not be surprised if it comes down to a field goal at the end. Baylor, even though they're 4-3, they've been a good team this year. They've had some decent games and some competitive games. I think they have a couple good wins. Yeah, they won double overtime against SMU. They played close against Arizona State. They beat Kansas State, but they've got losses against Arizona State, TCU, and Auburn. So Baylor is a kind of as one of my friends would say, they're a frisky team. You know, they've got some edge to them. They might be here for the upset, but I think Cincinnati pulls it out today. We've got number 22 Texas going on the road to Mississippi State. They're an 8.5-point favorite. Give me Texas to win this. I actually have a friend going to the game. He's pulling for the Longhorns, so hopefully they get a win for you today, Logan. I think Texas wins. I think they're the better team. Their defense has been good, and I think Arch Manning shows up a little bit today. We got number 6 Oregon hosting Wisconsin. They're a 31.5-point favorite. Wisconsin they've not looked good at all this year. They're perhaps one of the worst Power 5 teams in the nation. Give me Oregon to win big. I would not be surprised if they won by 40 or more. Got number 9, Miami hosting Stanford. They're a 30.5-point favorite. I think Miami wins the game easily. Stanford is down this year. Miami wins. Texas A&M, number 3 team in the nation, goes to visit number 20 LSU. This has been a kind of a big rivalry game in the SEC West for years, and now that there's no longer any divisions, these teams are still playing one another. I think, if I'm correct, I think they're going to be annual rivals in the new scheduling format for the SEC. I like this rivalry. These teams have kind of hated one another since A&M joined the SEC. They've had some great, memorable games. I think this will be a great game tonight at 6:30 on ABC. A&M's undefeated. LSU's with their backs against the wall at 5-2, and Brian Kelly's getting some heat. I think LSU's going to try and play them close. I think they will. I think it will be a close game in the end, but I think A&M's defense is just better. Their offense has been far more consistent than LSU's, and they got some explosiveness. Give me A&M to win by 7 in this one. Number 19, Louisville host Boston College. They're a huge favorite in this. They're 26.5-point favorite. Louisville's number 19. Boston College is only 1-6 on the year. Louisville wins easily in this one. Got a great rivalry. The Paul Bunyan Trophy is going to be decided tonight between number 25 Michigan at Michigan State. Even though these teams, even when they're not the best, this rivalry is always a good one. I think Michigan State, even though they're an underdog at home, I think they'll play somewhat close in this, but I think Michigan will pull away at the end and still cover the 13.5 spread. I think Michigan wins by 2 scores. We've got the third oldest rivalry in the SEC also later tonight. That's right, you heard me. The third oldest rivalry in the SEC. Number 17 Tennessee visits unranked Kentucky. This is the third most played game in SEC history, and so a few weeks ago when people were complaining about, well, Tennessee's losing the rivalry with Florida and Georgia, with annual rivals with the new scheduling format, but they get Kentucky. I'm not a Kentucky fan. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm a Murray State fan. Murray State's my alma mater, huge Notre Dame football fan. But I know that this rivalry shouldn't go away between Kentucky and Tennessee. It's the third most played game in SEC history. Both of these teams have played each other like 120 times. It's even though Tennessee's dominated the rivalry, it's huge. It's who Kentucky wants to beat more than anyone. It's what I hear Kentucky fans say all the time, is they really want to beat Tennessee. So this game deserves to be played every year. Tennessee's a 7.5-point favorite on the road in Kentucky. I think Kentucky plays them close, but I think Tennessee wins in the end and just covers by 7. Kentucky always plays to the level of their competition. They have for the last few years. No matter if it's a good or a bad team, they play to the level of their competition. We got number 24, Arizona State hosting Houston. I think Arizona State wins. They've looked pretty good, even though they don't have Cam Skattebo anymore. They're still a really good team, and they're still fighting to try and get back in that Big 12 playoff, or the Big 12 conference championship game. Give me Arizona State to win over a good Houston team there. And we're going to quickly go over to some of the unranked games that are going on. We got a big rivalry game between Kansas State and Kansas. Kansas State's winning 34-17. Kansas has kind of let me down this year. I thought they might be a dark horse team for the Big 12, and Kansas State's also let me down. I picked them to win the Big 12, and they've underperformed. But they've been playing a little better here recently. Arkansas is currently beating Auburn 21-10, having somewhat of a bounce back game. Minnesota Iowa is a huge rivalry game. They play for, I believe it's the what do they call it? It's a statue of a pig that they compete for. Iowa's a 7.5 point favorite at home. Both teams are 5-2. Minnesota's been playing pretty good, but give me Iowa. I think they're great defensively. They've played well at home all year, and I think they're an underranked team. I think they're a team that maybe, especially if they win this game, deserves to probably be in the top 25 or to be strongly considered for the top 25. Give me Iowa to win this one. We got Pitt and NC State. It's a pivotal game in the ACC. Pitt's trying to get back into the ACC title race. I think NC State also has a decent record in conference as well. No, they don't. I'm wrong. NC State's 1-2 in conference play, but they're 4-3 overall. They're a decent program. Pitt is 3-1 in conference play, 5-2 in the season. They're in kind of that log jam towards the top of the ACC. There's a lot of teams right there competing for the ACC title. This is a huge game for Pitt. I think Pitt will win the game over NC State. We got a good matchup between San Diego State and Fresno State out in the Mountain West. Both teams have 5 wins on the year. Give me San Diego State to win on the road. And then we've got Navy looking to remain undefeated over Florida Atlantic. They're 6-0 on the year. They're a 13.5 point favorite. The Navy midshipmen go to 7-0 on the year, looking to perhaps compete in the American Conference and make the college football playoff. Trying to see if there's any other games. Colorado-Utah is a late game tonight. That might be a decent game. Colorado's played a little better here recently, and Utah is even though they're 5-2 and unranked, they're a pretty good team. If they'd beaten BYU, they would be ranked pretty high. They're a 14.5 point favorite over Colorado. Give me Utah to win that one. I think it'll be close though. So that's what I've got on the games going on. Give you a quick breakdown of what the college football playoff might look like just based on the AP rankings. We would have Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama with the byes. The 8-9 game would be Ole Miss hosting Miami. Higher seeds in the first round games get home playoff game. Ole Miss hosts number 9 Miami. Number 7 Georgia Tech, assuming they win the ACC. They would host number 10 Vanderbilt. That would be a great matchup. Great matchup. And it would be unfortunate, though, that these two teams kind of had a resurgence this year and they get stuck facing each other in the playoffs. Number 6 Oregon would host 11 BYU, some former Pac-12 schools there. Number 5 Georgia would host number 12 the American champion USF, just based on the highest ranking currently. So that's what it would be. I can show you. I drew it out so you can kind of see what it would look like. I have the rankings off to the side there. That's what the playoff would look like if you're just going off the AP voting today. Hopefully I can get a video out maybe this next week of what my playoff predictions and rankings would look like. But that would have to be after this week. We got games currently going on. I also got to get out an NFL video and a World Series video where the World Series is starting. I'm going to film a World Series video later today. That's all I've got in this video. Let me know your thoughts. Who is winning today and who's going to make the college football playoff? I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.